Hello, in this video we're going to go over how to create an editing interface or editing or updating interface in Tkinter. So the first thing I want to do is show you the example I have here. In this example it's a restaurant system here, so we've got employees and managers. And we also have the menu, which is what we're going to be editing today. So I've already inserted 3 rows here, and each row has an item ID. Each row has its own item ID, name, price, and tasty rating, and that's what we're going to be editing. And just for sake of completeness, I'll show you the manager table here, which just has a manager's details stored, and also in the users table their login information. But anyway, and I'll show you the system as it stands now. So we've got our we can log in here, so we'll just log in, and as we can see, we've got a manager interface here. And we can access this editing interface here. And as you can see, I've already put in the Tkinter widgets for this interface, so we're not wasting time doing that. But I'm sure you know how to define a label, define entry box. And I've also, the reason why I've put this arbitrary tasty scale in is just to show a different widget being edited, so you're not under the impression that it only works for entry widgets. It will work for any type of widget, any type of Tkinter widget. So first things first, in order to start this, we're going to need to define a couple of variables here. So the first variable we're going to define is a list. The first data structure, I guess, we're going to define as a list, and we're just going to call it edit item name list, right? And this will store the data retrieved from the table itself. And the next variable we're going to be defining is the variable which will be holding the value of the option menu, which we're going to be adding. That's how the user is going to choose their the item they wish to edit. So we're going to define that as a string var, and the last thing we're going to do on this bit is just to make this variable here a trace variable. So what that means is that anytime this variable is changes in value, a command will be triggered. So to do this, we're going to do edit item name dot trace, and then we're going to open our parentheses and put in a W, just the character W. That defines the mode of the trace, and then we're going to put in the function name which we want to execute upon the variable changing value. So yes, so those are the 3 variables, the data structure and the variable we're defining there. Just a note, see, this .trace feature is built into Python, so you don't need a library, you don't need to install any libraries for this, apart from obviously Tkinter and MySQL connector and all that. The next thing we're going to do is make a button in our actual editing frame. As you notice, at the start I showed the interface with no actual way to execute the edit command. So we're just going to do that quickly. So we're going to do edit menu button equals tk.button, okay, and then we're going to put in the frame name, which is edit menu frame. I try to keep these variable names as explicit as possible, I'm just going to make it look a bit nicer by putting label font, assigning it the command edit menu, and we're going to give it some text, which will say edit. Okay, so there we go. Last thing we have to do is just grid that there. So you'll have noticed that I've defined a lot of, not defined, called a lot of functions. Well, stated a lot of functions that we don't have any meaning to them yet. We haven't defined them yet. Oh, messed that up royally. Column, yeah, equals 1. There we go. That worked there. So we'll do that. So you'll notice that we've defined commands such as edit menu and where was the trace variable there? Option changed. Don't worry about that. We'll go on to that now. So let me see. Where have we put all our functions? Here we go. Right. So I'm just going to do it all above. Actually, we'll do it all below here. So the first thing we're going to do is edit this. The function you're going to use to raise the frame, the edit frame, or the edit interface from the previous interface. So we went from the manager menu interface or frame and have changed it or raised the edit frame over that. And in this the act of raising the frame in this function, we're going to obtain data from the obtain all the details from the menu and put it into an option menu. That's essentially what this function is going to do. So let's do that now. So we're going to first define the list again. And then the next thing we're going to do is define our SQL that we're going to use. So we're going to make the SQL get item names. Okay, and in this select statement, we're going to just select the names of what the menu items are, because the user, of course, is only going to know the names of the items. So what do we have in here? So it's only gonna take chicken, fish, beef from the table, which is fine. And then we're gonna do my cursor dot execute, and we're just gonna execute that command. And then we're going to then retrieve that in a variable called myResults. So myResults equals myCursor.fetch all. So we're taking in all the data. And then we're going to iterate. We're taking in not all of the data, all of the names. And we're going to iterate through the names. So we're going to do for result in myResults. We're going to append the list that we've defined up here with the name. Okay, so sorry, result in myResults. Okay, so the first thing that we receive here from this will be in the first iteration of this for loop. We're going to get chicken, then we're going to get fish, and then we're going to get beef, and all of that will be put into that list there. You may be confused with the square bracket 0. The index here. That's because we need that index there because the myResults returns a list of tuples whenever we use the fetch all. So even if there's only one piece of data in the actual tuple itself. So it doesn't return a list of strings, it returns a list of tuples. That's why we need the index there. But anyway, so following on from that, we're now going to make the option menu. And I'm sure you've used option menus before, but to refresh you, option menus just provide a finite number of options to the menu, not options to the user, and that means that the user can't go wrong. They can't input something that is incorrect, which is very useful, and it also saves them typing out stuff that isn't typing out redundant data, because they could have just easily have selected it from a menu. Saves them having going to the effort of typing it out. I will discuss different approaches to this problem once we finish. But anyway, we're just going to grid this option menu now, and I'll just go through that for you. So the frame that it's going to be in, the variable which we've already defined, that's going to store the selected option, and then the list of selected options is there. So the user has the option of beef, chicken, and fish. Will not? Yes, beef, chicken, fish. Okay, that will be displayed to the user. And the reason why we have to define it here, well, I suppose you could have well, the reason why I like defining it here is that it's all in one section. Anyway, I think, yes, that's the end of that function. So I'll just go through that again. You define your list. You select the data, the names of the menu items, and then you get the data and you iterate through it, appending it to a list. That list is then used in the creation of the option menu. That's about it. Okay, so and remember, you're using your trace variable that you've defined as the variable that's going to store the selected option. So we're now going to go over the actual function that's called whenever the user selects an item from the option menu, i.e. when the trace variable changes value. And if you recall, we named that option changed. That's what we named it. Now, this function actually needs to take in arguments. The .trace function produces three parameters that we have to take in. So to do that, we're just going to we're not going to actually use any of the data, any of the variables produced from the trace, but we have to accept them somewhere, else the program will error. That's why we're just going to accept all arguments in this function. And the next thing we're going to do is I'll explain what this function is going to do. Once the user selects an item from the menu, from the option menu, all of the widgets that you saw in the edit menu interface are going to obtain the data from that. They're going to hold the data that is associated with the selected item. So find menu item SQL equals, okay, and then we're going to do a select the name, because they can edit the name, they can edit the price, and they can edit the tasty rating of that. And we're going to take that from the menu, obviously, menu table, where name equals %s, and that's obviously going, that wildcard character is going to take on the value of the selected name from the option menu. So just going to pass in the SQL statement there, and then just going to pass in the value there. Now don't forget to do your .get there, because it's a Tkinter variable. And then we do my results equals my cursor dot fetch all. There we go. Now hold on. I think actually we'll do a fetch one there. My results, and I've spelt my results. There we go. And then we'll just do edit item, edit menu item. Sorry, hold on. Edit menu name dot set, and that's going to be my result. Should really be my result then if it's a fetch one, because I'm using fetch one here. I thought we'd do fetch all, but we're going to use fetch one because we're only returning one row of information, because of course one assumes that there can't be the same name used for two different things. So edit menu name dot set my result square bracket 0, because that's going to be the first thing, which is going to be the name, and then we're going to do edit menu price dot set my result square bracket 1, and then edit menu tasty dot set I and then that. There we go. The not I even. I keep thinking it's I for some reason. My result. There we go. So we've got my result there. Fetching one row, and then we're just going to assign the data in that row to the appropriate widget, and that's all you have to do for that particular function. The last function that we're going to do is the actual committing of the editing. So we're going to do edit menu. That's what we're going to define it as. With our semicolon there. And then we're going to do edit menu SQL equals. And then we're going to do our update statement finally. So when you're doing your update statement, you need your update and then your table, and then you're going to set, and then your field names followed by a wildcard variable there. So price equals %s, and then tasty rating equals %s. There we go. And then my cursor dot execute edit menu SQL, and then this is going to take three variables, which is going to be edit menu name dot get. These variables that I'm typing in are the variables that are for the Tkinter widgets that were defined, which I showed you there, and which you set here. Edit and edit menu tasty. That's what it was. Dot get. Okay, good. So we've got our data in there. That will execute nicely. And of course, don't forget mydb.commit because you're making a change to the database. And then we'll do some user feedback here. So we'll just say messagebox.showInfo edit success. Edit success. And then we're gonna do just say edit successful. We're not too fussed with this, just saying that it went through. And since I'm a bit lazy, we're not going to put in a back button. We're just going to do raise frame, manager, menu, frame. Now, hopefully this works. I've just noticed a wee issue with our code here. We've not actually put the where clause on this SQL statement, so that will make the whole table update to the new change, make all the rows the same with the edited data. So we're going to change that. So we're just going to put our where name equals %s, and all we have to do is add another piece of data to our tuple of data. So probably wondering, well, what we have to obviously retain the old name value, but we've already retained it in the selected name, not the selected name, the variable which stores the name which you select of the item which you select, and then you change the name in a different variable. So I know that's confusing, but just hold on a minute and I'll get to it. So we'll just get that there. Okay, so see where these are different variables. There you go, and there you go. So this one is from the option menu, this one is from your Tkinter widget. So we're going to run this now. Let's run that. And as we can see, we'll just log in. So we'll log in as a manager. Here we go. Log in, we can edit, and here's our lovely edit screen. Now, let's see our workbench here. Let's go into our menu, and we've got 3 items, chicken, fish, beef. Now let's see how many options we have. Oh, we've got 3, chicken, fish, beef, in that order. So whenever we changed to this edit menu screen, we executed the raise frame function here. So we got the data and we're now displaying it in this option menu because we've defined it there. Now, once we change the value of the option menu variable, that will cause the option change function to execute. So I'll show that off now. Whenever we click chicken, the widgets update with the appropriate piece of data. And that will work for all of them there. And as you can see, it's not restricted to just entry widgets. You've got the slider there changing its value there. Okay, so we've got that, we've done that. Now all that's left is to change edit something. So we're going to use fish. I'm going to change fish. We're now going to label it cod. There we go. And that's going to increase in price, but the tasty factor or tasty scale will increase as well to 91. So let's just see here. We've got fish. We're changing fish. We've selected fish here. We're changing it to cod, £9. We're going to increase the tasty rating. Okay, so there it is there. Now when we click edit, our message pops up. Our message box pops up, and we're directed back to the manager interface. Now, if we look here, that function's completely executed. So we should have got our edit in now. So if we look here, it doesn't appear right away because, of course, we need to run our select statement again. So let's run that now. And as you can see, it's changed to the appropriate value. So I did mention during this video that there was different methods of tackling this. Now, I think what we've done here is the most graceful example that I could come up with. But in a table which has lots of rows, and I mean lots and lots and lots of rows, this will keep on going until it goes off the screen. And I believe there's like a small tooltip, and I think it's scrollable, but it's a bit it's difficult to use, essentially, for the user at least. So if it gets to that point, if your tables have that much data in them, then you're probably going to need to just make a wee entry box. This is how I do it. Probably just put a simple entry box there, and then maybe a button that clicks search. And then once you click search, it'll fill in the data. So it's using the same system. It's same functions. It's just instead of an option menu, you're using an entry widget. But yeah, that's what I would do if the table got quite large. But for small scale tables, it's pretty effective. So that's how I would do an edit interface in Python with Tkinter. Thank you for watching.